month of disappointment and pure bullshit, we need to indulge in some excellence. If you're looking for any objective criticism, get the fuck out now. We are here to fanboy. This is an album that really defined a decade, and while there's stiff competition, I think what really gives 1984 the crown is the blend of all the things that they do so well and all the things that really captured the 80s. Combines key aspects like the pop appeal with certain synth tracks like Jump and All Wait, roaring metal guitar tone that King Edward is known for, and the uber macho themes on songs like Hot for Teacher and just Dave in general. All while filtering out the epic cringe that I think we know a lot of the 80s versions of those to be.
Eddie and Alex pulled out all the stops for this one. Eddie breaking out the synth more, you know, to try and take a different approach towards the music. After this album, Van Halen kind of was never really the same. His voice and the way he sings and the way he attacks the vocals. And Sammy Hagar, he's not terrible, but it's just a whole different world.
You know damn well already about the raw kickassery of Van Halen in general, so I think we'll just cut right through the bullshit. Without further bovine excrement, I'm Darius King.
Not Metalhead.
This is 1984. A big reason that I think people look back at the 80s and cringe at the synths is the machine-like tone. There's a lot less expression, even so, than, you know, modern keys today. But King Edward somehow managed to bust down both of those barriers, beginning with the title track here. Sitting here now hearing the opening is still otherworldly, and I can't imagine what it was like hearing it back in 1984.
Like you mentioned in earlier videos, there was like 2 patches, and they would just all kind of use the same patch.
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, this sounds like what I've heard 100 times before. Eddie, like you knew, is a master of the guitar. Some people don't know is that he had to play piano first. His mom made him play.
I wouldn't be too mad if I got my ass kicked in a piano recital by Eddie Van Halen, even if he was 9. And then King Edward injects all the personality, all the feel into one of the most iconic songs in history. This song doesn't just represent the 80s, it represents just music. It's not one that blows you away with like masterful chops, but where it wins is where Van Halen always wins, and that's the energy and feel, but they reach an all-time high here on this track.
The second that you just hear that bass note hit, you just know instantly what you're jumping into. A pinnacle of what they can offer, especially with a more laid-back guitar approach up until that roaring solo.
Compositionally, it's brilliant. I've sat here on the keyboards just for hours playing the main riff over and over again like a nutcase because the feel is just so present. Dave is not a singer. He's a David Lee Roth, and every band needs a David Lee Roth for exactly reasons like that scream that builds that anticipation that he does here. So much going on under the hood here. I actually had no idea that there was guitar throughout this entire song. I thought it was just for the solo. Ton of attention to detail with the soft overdubs. Is it the best Van Halen track ever? Probably not. It is, however, among them easily. Add to that the cultural significance of it, not just at the time, but even now. This has got to be a 10.
Wow.
Yeah. This is one of the best 80s songs ever, and one of the most fun to play.
Definitely monumental. Gets you in the mood. It gets you going. Beavis, I've seen the top of the mountain.
Yes. Okay, this is not fair. This is an incredible achievement for any artist to have a song of this caliber in their entire career, but Van Halen gets 2 back-to-back. Just like Jump, the most important aspect here is the raw energy, but it's energy that distinguishes itself plenty from Jump, just like any other scorching Van Halen track.
The best explanation for this is that scene from Family Guy.
We've got a red station wagon blasting Panama and being awesome and partying and being rad. Break off pursuit. Panama kicks too much ass and shreds way too hard. You'll never catch him.
Eddie and Alex kicking it off, of course, and Eddie moving around that Unchained chord brilliantly. Again, it's not the complexity that drives it here, it's the structure and the drive. I really like Michael Anthony's chromatic run there too, which you can't hear. The only reason I know that's in there is because of our Guess the Song video. He really did try. Poor Michael Anthony.
No, he really did. And we were jamming to this song when I'm trying to play along, and it's just like that. Like, it's really hard not to just do quarter and eighth notes.
The personalities were clashing like crazy too. Of course, we love and respect King Edward, rest in peace, but he was kind of an asshole. I think, you know, even people that adore him would tell you that. So I think even if he did try to inject some, you know, Geddy Lee stuff in there, he'd get some shit from Eddie. It's really special and adds so much more to a song when lyricists are able to, you know, create this connection with the listener with brilliant metaphors and themes. And I also guess David Lee Roth said some words on here. I don't know. A reporter asked Dave, are you ever going to write any intelligent lyrics that aren't about partying, women, and fast cars? He's like, oh shit, that's a good point. I've never written a song about fast cars. One of the best hooks in Van Halen history. Michael, Dave, and Eddie doing their magic as usual vocally. The same things here can be said that we said about Jump as far as the legacy of this track carrying forward, just with a more traditional Van Halen sound. Yeah, the lyrics suck and all, but who gives a fuck? I give this one a 10 too.
10. Wow. Oh shit. Amazing chorus and fantastic arrangement. This one's going on the playlist.
We're not slowing down yet. No. The whale noises make an appearance for the first time since Van Halen too. King Edward is the star of the show as usual, bringing his new approach of the lower gain, of course, until the very end. The harmonics for the whole song are a really nice touch. But despite that approach from Eddie, the energy still manages to stay on 10. Again, the details of the overdub swells in the background do so much for the track. Side note, I've always thought of this. Why is this not the track right before Hot for Teacher? Wouldn't that have been perfect? This may not have the recognition of the first two, but still very much is going on the playlist.
Definitely one that I think doesn't get lost in the album, but not one that is super standout. I give it the Metalhead seal of approval.
Still heavy hitting despite the slower tempo. That combined with Dave being Dave, Alex's cowbell, and Eddie's triplet notes. Not one there's a whole lot of depth on, but it's just a really fun song and it's able to maintain the energy despite the slower tempo. This one's also going on the playlist.
I give this one the Metalhead seal of approval.
Alex's magnitude 8 earthquake is one you can pick out in less than a second of the intro. I had a hot teacher once. Do you ever have a hot teacher? Tell us your hot teacher stories in the comments. My hot teacher was in her mid-20s, and luckily enough, she was our sex ed teacher.
We'll be talking about the vagina!
All the boys had to stay 5 minutes after class just so they can get up and walk to the next one.
History teacher, late 20s.
That's pretty good. Mine was a dime piece. Not just for teacher, like we're talking about just in general. The raw stamina on display from Alex easily makes this his signature song, and King Edward does not let him down, adding in one of his most recognizable riffs too.
Classic. Alex's mastery of the drums makes the kit sound like an idling muscle car. Eddie explodes onto the scene with one of his greatest riffs I've ever heard, especially the part right as he leads into the main section. It's a very unique vocal approach, making the listener feel like they're like actually in the classroom setting with ambient noises, the bottle clicking, the paper crumpling.
Michael Anthony being really the only singer in the band, brilliantly leading the harmonies over the hook, of course, with Dave. No bearing on the music here, but also the legendary music video that's been parodied so many times. And of course the lines that Dave drop are hilarious. Beavis, I have seen the top of the mountain.
The classic. This one's going on the playlist.
Underrated. What still amazes me on this album is King Edward's ability to dial in those tones on that Oberheim in an era where there really weren't too many options. His brassy filtered patch is the foundation of this song. Michael Anthony paired with the bass notes in the right ear give it such a driving energy with that heavy tone.
Definitely more somber synth approach. Got stronger lyrics and vocals from Dave.
Yeah, Dave is not one who requires many vocal effects, but the bathroom delay on this one gives his vocals a whole other dimension. Unique approach where Dave sings. Alex goes apeshit underneath Eddie's spaceship section, abusing those toms. And Eddie's build-up also adds so much to a solo, too. One of the more experimental ones that I've heard up to this point in Van Halen's career, and the most underappreciated on the album. So this one is most definitely going on the playlist.
Yeah, definitely underrated. All-around amazing arrangement. This one gets the Metalhead seal of approval.
The next two are not, by any stretch of the imagination, weak songs, but they're definitely, if I had to pick some of my least favorites, these two would have to be it. Girl Gone Bad has an excellent intro and rhythmic feel along with Alex's jazz ride cymbal and the big reverb they add in too.
I feel like this one is the underrated song for me. No one really ever talks about it. The build-up is just so well done. Eddie and Michael bring up the pace, and Alex with this really steady beat. The transition from like the clean sound to the crunchy tone is great.
House of Pain is a cool change of direction from them. Not necessarily dark, but certainly more of a serious feel than others up to this point. Very solid album closer too, so I'd give both of these the Darius King seal of approval.
Once again, Alex and Eddie take you a perfect journey. Then it kind of turns into more of a formulaic approach. I don't think it's horrendous, and I think it is a good ending. Girl Gone Bad, the Metalhead seal of approval. And House of Pain, I wouldn't push you out of a moving car.
Overall, among the very few albums of this era with substantial synth use, this one really stands the test of time because of the legacy that songs like Jump still carry today, other timeless tracks like Panama and Hot for Teacher, not to mention its influence.
A real classic. I mean, it's like on a shelf because of timeless classics that even to this day are still enjoyed and still listened to even by people who don't even know the band that well. Just from the production to the arrangements to the radio hits and just their overall explosive energy, nothing else compares.
Let's pretend for a second that this album had no influence and no legacy whatsoever and just look at it for what's really on here, just the raw tracks. It's still passionate, fun, and has undeniable enthusiasm. What a way to mark the end of an era, too. While I think both parties definitely did do good things afterwards, this was easily the peak. And I like what you said. The best way to describe this is a classic. So I'd give this one a 10.
Beavis, I've seen the top of the mountain.
Yes, sir.